Joy. What does joy mean to you? The concept of joy, of happiness, jubilation, excitement in your life. What is that? What are the prerequisites for it? You know, sometimes we're like, oh, there's so many things that bring me joy. Okay, that's cool, right? And so let's go into that, because that was my mindset. I used to think I need to have A, B, and C before I can have a big old smile on my face. I used to think that way. I really did. And it's a common thing I'm actually seeing quite often. Okay? And it is a product of our social conditioning. We live in a world where gratification is instantaneous. The things we do bring us immediate gratifications. And the things that don't bring us that immediate gratification, sometimes we don't invest our energy into. Sometimes we decide, we'll bypass that one and we'll put it on the back burner. And that's okay. Some of us do that. But let's talk about this energy of joy, because if you have that mindset, you might find yourself not having that great of a time. And so when it comes down to it, there are some elements in my life I used to think about that I was like, before I can be happy and joyful, I need to have these things aligned. And so one of those things for me was money. I needed to have financial stability. In fact, it was even more than financial stability. I needed to have abundance. I needed to have a lot of money and the ability to buy a lot of things so I could feel joy. And so I went and got jobs and I got some money, and you know, living at home when I was younger was really nice because all that money accrues. It collects. And eventually you have a big lump sum and you're like, hey, I'm abundant and I'm joyful, and that's cool, right? And so guess what happens? You end up spending all your money on things that don't serve you. Sometimes I did. And then I ended up with no money again. And so kind of repeating that cycle. But what do I have to do to kind of anchor in and embed this energy of joy into my life? I'll tell you what, it's not money. So let's keep going into it. How about material possessions? One of my most coveted material possessions has been the automobile, the car. I'm a huge car fan. I know a lot of my friends are also huge car fans. Cars are super cool. They're fast, they offer you an adrenaline rush, they're comfortable, they look good. There are a lot of amazing qualities about cars that we can tune into and appreciate. And of course that we can derive joy from. So I've had, you know, a number of cars in my life. That's not to say that I've had the most beautiful cars or the most expensive or most luxurious or the fastest cars, but I've had cars that I've invested money, time, and work into. I've invested my energy into it. I've built cars, I've made them a little bit faster, I've made them look a little bit better, and I've customized them to myself, to my own liking. And guess what? Those cars have brought me joy. They have most certainly brought me joy. But at the end of the day, guess what? I don't go to sleep with my car. No, I don't. I don't go to bed with my car. And in fact, there have been more than one circumstance where the car has been a subject, a root of my my struggle. You know, as you go and you modify these cars, things tend to break sometimes. And guess what? Things have broken on my cars. And thus, the energy of joy was not embedded into my reality. Instead, I was face to face with, again, financial struggle. And maybe not again, but I'm facing now financial struggle because of the car issues that I had. Now, this is in the past. I'm just running you through some examples. However, think about it this way. If, for example, you decide to invest your energy into a car and then hope that the car is going to, the payoff will be joy for you, be careful. Don't hang your hat on the car, because what's really interesting about that is it potentially something could go wrong, right? And if something could go wrong, then unfortunately, that's the open end, right? That's the unknown. And so you have to understand that if you decide that cars are the only thing in life that's going to bring you joy, it's possible you may have a hard time, okay? And so let's take it one step further, because money is great, cars are great, but what else do we really want out of life that brings us joy? I'll tell you what I wanted. In fact, it was more important to me than money. It was more important than having things. It was having love. It was having being in a loving relationship with someone that I believe was beautiful, with someone that I believe loved me just as much as I love them. And so in relationships, You can hang your hat on a relationship to derive joy. But there's something very important about this that we must understand very deeply. On a fundamental level, the relationships that we build with others cannot go any further than the relationship we've built with ourselves. And so if you want to derive love and joy out of your life and out of your relationships, before you can actually get that from an external relationship, in other words, a relationship that's not with yourself, you must actually build it with yourself. So let me ask you something. If money hasn't brought you joy, if cars haven't brought you joy, or if you've had either of the two and they brought you temporary joy, but then it's gone, do you believe that a relationship, being in a loving relationship, is going to bring this joy into your life and really embed it? It may be a trick question. It may be a trick question because it's actually up to you. It's actually 100% up to you. You see, if you want a loving relationship to bring you joy, you have to become your greatest version. If you want to stay in a relationship that continues to bring you joy and builds you with good energy, you have to become your greatest version, because guess what, my friends? Relationships are something that you have to work on. Relationships they are not where you get into a relationship immediately I'm gratified. There's a purpose to relationships, and it's to grow. And if you're with the right person at the right time, you're gonna grow. And in fact, you're always with the right person at the right time, because you're learning a lesson regardless. Even if you're with the wrong person today, you're still learning something you need to know about life. You're still learning about yourself and the things you do and do not want in your experience. And so let me talk to you a little bit about relationships and joy. If you wish to carry the energy of joy in your life, then you have to actually be that energy. So in a relationship, for example, you can't come into a relationship with all your previous baggage, all your emotional trauma, all your insecurities, your jealousy, whatever you may have from your previous relationships. If you want to bring that into your current relationship, guess what? Joy is going to go out the window, okay? And so if you want a joyful, loving relationship, you have to mend yourself. You have to mend your relationship with yourself. You have to come to terms with what you've been through, and you have to grow from that. That's something we all have the capability to do. Yet some of us find that to be a very difficult thing. And that's okay. That's okay, because it is difficult. But guess what? There's those of us out here who have gone through it and who knows what to expect, knows what to look out for, and knows different methods to overcoming our emotional trauma. It happens. We go through these things. We go through these things, and it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, hey, I'm going to collect myself and understand myself before I move on to this relationship, on to this next relationship. And so, if you want the energy of joy in your life, guess what? Don't rely on money. Don't rely on cars, material items. Don't even rely on relationships, because guess what? In the relationship, that's where we learn the truth. It's us. We are responsible for bringing in this joy energy. You and I, okay? You and I are responsible for our lives. And thus, because you know that, because I know that, guess what? I feel joyful. I'm gonna bring joy into my life. I'm not gonna allow myself to rely on external things. No, I'm going to become that energy. I'm going to do things that bring me joy, such as spending a cloudy day out here at a park. Why not? Why not do something that brings me a smile to my face? Why not? And so I say to you, my friends, what are you doing today to bring joy into your life, to embed the energy of joy and love into your life? I trust you'll do something worthwhile. And with that, I love y'all. Take care.